If you're a big swim team and you like to order a lot of gear, maybe you ought to check out Swim Outlet Team Division for these reasons. Swim teams receive a 10% discount on bulk orders. Swim teams or organizations get an 8% commission on referred sales. You'll also like their customization services, which is affordable and available at all times during the year for all team gear. With over 50,000 items in stock, you can get most anything you want. Swim Outlet Team Division. You need to try it out. You'll be glad you did.
This is the Morning Swim Show for Tuesday, September 17th, 2013. I'm your host, Jeff Cummings. Joining me today in the Fitness Monitor will be Rokur Jakupsstovu. He runs the blog swimmersdaily.com and has a constant eye on Denmark, one of the rising swimming countries in the world. And Rokur joins us now via Skype from the Faroe Islands. Rokur, it's good to see you. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, give us a quick geography lesson. Where are the Faroe Islands?
We are in the middle of the North Atlantic. If you make an arrow between, or a line between Norway and Iceland, it's straight in the middle, dead in the middle, and up from Britain. So it's in the middle of the North Atlantic.
Okay, and so I would imagine, though, trying to get to the mainland, the continent of Europe, is it easy or is it difficult?
It is difficult. It's a 2-hour flight or at least a day of sailing.
Okay, so I would imagine you don't go to the mainland very often.
Not so often, no, unfortunately. It's quite, and it's actually the expensive part of traveling around the world. That would be to get off this rock.
Yeah. And in swimming terms, it's interesting because FINA recognizes the Faroe Islands as a separate swimming federation. You know, swimmers from the Faroe Nations can go to world championships and things like that under the Faroe Islands flag. But when it comes to the Olympics, the Faroe Islands, as it is historically, they swim with Denmark. Tell us about that.
Yeah. When I started in swimming, it would be impossible for a Faroese swimmer to participate in the Olympics because of the politics at that time. They said that you had to actually switch sports nationality to Danish, and we had a girl, a quite capable girl, who went into the Danish national team. She switched sport nationality. Her name was Elspeth Mercury, and that was actually right before Pal. But then it opened up that FINA said that we could make a sort of, they had some, looking for the English word, but they had a what do you call it? It had happened before with Greenlandic skiers that you could be under the hat or something. We are in a, I don't know the English word, but Faroe Islands is one self.
It's a self-governing island. I think that's what you're.
Yeah, self-governing island, and as Greenland is also. But we do not have an Olympic committee here, so we made this organization where actually the Faroese Sports Federation is under the Danish Olympic Organization, and that is the system. So the Danish Olympic Organization has 3 sports federations under itself. It would be Denmark, Faroe Islands, and Greenland.
Okay, so that's actually helped.
The problem was always that if Pal, for instance, when Pal went to London, if he should not be, have this 1 year of quarantine, that FINA would accept, or the Olympic Committee would accept that he actually switched nationality only for the Olympics, and that was what happened.
Well,
so when he was at the Olympics, he was a Danish swimmer, and then he switched nationality immediately back to the Faroes for everything else, you could say.
Well, that's got to be confusing and a lot of paperwork that probably has to be done just to make sure people like Pal Joensen can swim at the Olympics. But I would imagine it's worth doing. I mean, the chance to swim at the biggest meet in the world.
Yeah, I felt, as I said in the beginning, when I started in swimming, it was impossible, and then suddenly this simple solution actually sort of unfolded, and it wasn't that difficult actually, and not so much paperwork.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Pal Joensen. He's been on the rise for the past, I'd say, 3 or 4 years. He got to swim at the Olympics last year. Everybody was really expecting him to do a lot. He didn't make the final of any of his events, but he came back this past summer, made the final of the 800 free, the 1500 free, did pretty well. What are your thoughts about how he's been doing as he's been getting older and more experienced?
Yeah, London was a shock. We expected more, and it didn't go as planned, and he was actually quite low psychologically. He switched, he changed. That was always the plan. He changed, or he had decided to move to Denmark after the Olympics. His girlfriend was already studying in Copenhagen. He then did this, and first really a slap over the head, not doing so well at the Olympics. And then switching coach, switching circumstances, new apartment, moving away from home, and that went quite well. He won a silver in Istanbul at the World Champs, the short course. So it went quite well. But then again, the Danish had their coach, national coach, or the coach at the national training center coach, Paul Svildborg. He went to Australia, and they had to get another one. So he has actually changed coach twice this year, and therefore we were very uncertain of how it would go now in Barcelona. Luckily, it actually went quite well. We were happy.
Yeah, I'm sure just for your tiny country that has about 50,000 people, a lot of your sports expectations, I would imagine, are now riding on him.
All, you could say, all by now. We have a few youngsters that are good and that we hope get as good, but of course it's difficult. And Paul was also exceptional in his his commitment to training. So we have capable swimmers. I'm sure we have the same talent in other swimmers, but the problem is always the commitment to train as hard as he did.
Yeah, so obviously with the success that Paul has had, has it kind of inspired a lot of the younger kids in the Faroe Islands to either just take up swimming or at least try to be better than they are now?
Absolutely. We have the swimmers around Paul, the age groups around Paul were decimated just because he was so good. He won everything. You can imagine the Faroese Championships with a swimmer of his format. So we actually lost quite a few swimmers around Paul in his age group, but in the young groups we have, it's full teams, to say it as it is. And we also see in all the sports, actually sort of the entire country, only 50,000 people, that we have what we call the Pal effect. Everybody talks about the Pal effect. You could ask somebody about the Pal effect, and that they would say that, well, that is to be inspired by Paul and to commit to something completely. So we see, for instance, in football or soccer, that they start with morning practices and stuff to simulate the swimmers or Paul. So we have it has made a huge effect up here with Paul.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And he's transcended swimming, as it were. It's affecting all the other sports.
Yeah. Yes, actually, we feel the small sports, because swimming is a small sport in the Faroe Islands. You can imagine, again, 50,000 people, and then you're talking about a small sport. We have maybe 40 swimmers of national quality that we send abroad, and that is a big number if you think about their actual quality. But we feel a lot of competition from soccer is the main sport up here. And the small sports feel pressure. Now the young boys are doing way more training in football, or soccer. So, yeah, it's getting a bit. I come from a very tiny village, 1,000 people, and our kids are busy. They are running around. They have to be at swimming for three practices a week, and football maybe 3 also, and then it's a busy schedule for a young boy.
Yeah, that's very good that they're staying busy and being active in sport. So we got about 3 years until the Olympics, a little less than 3 years until the Olympics. Is there anybody that you say in the Faroe Islands besides Paul could have a shot at being on the Olympic team for Denmark?
Yes. The best shot, his name is Magnus Jacobson, actually switched sport nationality. He is in Denmark now, and he is training at the National Training Center together with Paul. And I guess, now I'm predicting, I'm not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure that he'll be part of what they call the Great Dane, this system of, they try to heighten the quality of Danish swimmers. He's Faroese, he's born and bred up here in the Faroe Islands, but moved to Denmark to get better training environment in a club compared to what he had here. And then at one point, after the European Juniors, was it, I think last year, he switched sport nationality, and that is to get to Rio.
Well, that's a great segue, because I wanted to kind of talk about the relationship that the Faroe Islands has with Denmark and the programs that they are using to try to help their younger athletes become more proficient at the world level. Talk about this Great Dane program. I understand it involves giving a lot of these younger swimmers a more racing experience.
Yes, the problem is for the Danes, or what the problem that they are realizing is that they have a lot of really capable girls, but the boys have been suffering. Paulus Wildeborg, the former National Training Center coach and national coach, he was quite harsh with the boys and called them soft. These guys that are in charge now, they are talking about, well, we just have to harden them, and they are therefore doing this project called the Great Danes, where they will be traveling or going to events, and the main thing for them will be that they have to race hard. They have to do at least 2 events in every session, which apparently was more than before, and sort of get tough.
So that's very interesting. Yeah, you look at the way Denmark is swimming on the world level, world championships, for example. I mean, the top swimmers for Denmark at the world championships were all women. I mean, a lot of Friis, Rika Møller-Pedersen, Jeanette Ottesen Gray. So from your perspective, and looking at the Danish team, do you think this program could be a success and try to bring the males up to an equal level of the females?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite sure that that it'll work for them. They have good swimmers. They have Mads Gleisner, and they have a couple of other guys swimming over with you over in the United States. I'm sure that they can sort of. They might have been a bit soft when it came to practice. Also, we do. Paulus actually talked a lot about. He had a theory that the Danish boys should be practicing more alone, away from the girls, because the entire system is sort of nurturing the girls, or the things are how a girl would like to train. For instance, this Great Danes system will absolutely be more of a guy thing, and I'm sure that they will be good.
Well, Denmark is not necessarily a large country. Obviously, it's a little bit bigger than the Faroe Islands, but in terms of population, not very big population to draw a lot of great swimmers from. So, why do you think they have such a great history with people like Lotte Friis and Rika Møller-Pedersen and others doing so well at the world level?
Coaches, of course, they have quite a lot of capable coaches, good thinking coaches, and they have also these many of those swimmers that are good today have foreign coaches. They're good at attracting coaches. They have actually quite good wages for the coaches. And if you look at, it's a tiny country, but it's sort of the same thing here in the Faroe Islands. Or of course, it's even more small. But you have to remember that it's easy to, when you have a small country, it's easy to get everybody together for national camps and stuff. So they are. It's a short distance to the most capable coach in the country, and I think that is, if we compare with the United States, you have a big country, but you have to go on a flight to go to wherever. In Denmark, it's just by now with the bridges across the forest, you can just drive everywhere.
Okay, yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And And of course, this December, they're going to be hosting the Short Course European Championship. So I can imagine that's going to bring a lot of excitement to the country and maybe even help bring more swimmers into the program.
Yes. I was at the aqua clinic that the Danish Coaches Federation or organization arranges every year. And I must say that I felt an optimism generally, both with the national team trio, the coaches there, and also with the coaches in general. It'll be exciting, and they are excited. And I'm quite sure that they'll do good also in hurling.
Before we go, Rokur, I wanted to get your thoughts on how closely the Faroe Islands Swimming Federation and the Denmark Swimming Federation work together, especially since Denmark will have a lot of potential athletes coming from the Faroe Islands to swim for Denmark at the Olympics.
That's a bit difficult. If we talk about how it worked before, I'm in the federation. I'm the vice president of the Faroe Swimming Federation. We actually decided to have Pal as an almost separate project, with the we have our own. We got to decide our own qualification standards. We could have had leaner qualification standards than the Danish, but we decided of political reasons to have the same as the Danes, decided by the Faroese, but still. And we also decided to run it as a project on its own, independent of the Danish. Of practical reasons, when we got close to London, the last half year before, or actually the entire half year of 2012, the spring, he was training with the Danes. That was it was more practical. But how it will be now, I don't really know. We might try to get a different kind of arrangement with Danes for the next, for Rio.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm not sure. It's easier to just say that, well, the Danes decide a qualification standard and we have the same. So that no Dane gets angry when a Faroese goes to Rio.
Yeah, I'm sure that's tough to have that communication going. Well, it's been great talking to you. We like your blog, swimmersdaily.com. So great entertainment sometimes and very interesting insight sometimes. And we also appreciate you being our European correspondent. So thanks so much for doing that as well.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, I look forward to, it was great meeting you at the World Championships. Look forward to seeing you on deck pretty soon.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so then thank you for joining us today on the Morning Swim Show. Remember, you can get the latest swimming news at swimmingworld.com and on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Jeff Cummings. Thanks for watching.